Voters in the Lake Orion School District went to the polls and approved a millage increase for a new high school and elementary school.
Professional golfer Patty Sheehan came to Lake Orion and won the U.S. Women's Open, which was held at Indianwood Golf and Country Club.
The Lake Orion Dragons football team enjoyed a fantastic season, rolling to a 9-0 start and reaching the playoffs.
A July 4th tradition that Lake Orion residents hadn't seen in a decade was revived as the Venetian Boat Parade took to the water.
Hello, I'm Joe Johnson.
And I'm Lori St. Germain.
Those are just some of the stories that we've brought to you since News 65 went on the air last year.
And we'll take you on a trip through 1994 on our year in review.
From the OCTV studio in Lake Orion, this is News 65 with Joe Johnson, Lori St. Germain, and the rest of the News 65 team, bringing you state, county, and local news affecting Orion area residents.
News 65 went on the air for the first time on Monday, March 14th to provide state, county, and local news to Orion area residents. Our very first story covered the March 9th meeting of the Lake Orion Board of Education. At that meeting, PTO President Carol Ben-Gazer presented petitions signed by over 2,000 members of the community calling for a bond election to build a new elementary school. The board voted to place the issue on the ballot in September. The board also restructured the school week to allow teachers a professional development day on Wednesdays and also decided to study the issue of year-round schooling. Also in March, Township Board and Village Council meetings began cablecasting live on Channel 67, the government access channel. The video equipment is operated by volunteers who have successfully completed the video production courses offered at our OCTV studio. On March 12th, 6 teams of 5th graders competed during the 9th annual Battle of the Books at the Orion Township Public Library. Each team had to answer questions related to 10 stories each student were required to read. The team representing Pine Tree Elementary came out on top.
Well, it was very nerve-wracking. It taught me that I can read more books than I usually do.
I've learned that there are different kinds of books, and some of them are better than others, and that just because it's science fiction doesn't mean that a girl can't read it and stuff.
On March 14th, a reception was held at the Township Library welcoming Farida Pasayeva and Zoya Vasilieva of Russia. The 2 teachers were visiting area schools as part of an exchange program with 2 Weber Elementary School teachers. On Tuesday, March 15th, voters across Michigan flocked to the polls to overwhelmingly approve Proposal A. Over $6.5 billion of school taxes would be eliminated from property tax, offset by a 2-cent sales tax increase, a cigarette tax, and a revised lottery game. Lake Orion voters also filled 4 seats on the village council. Newcomer Kevin Laidler came away with the most votes, followed by Nancy Pauley, Douglas Dendel, and Morris Cuxey. Incumbent Harry Stephen missed out on getting re-elected by 1 vote. The 4 electees took their oath of office on March 28th. On March 18th, we were able to go behind the scenes during opening night of the high school's presentation of Oklahoma, starring senior Shakira Edie.
It's been hectic. We have a double cast, so it was hard to get on stage, to have your stage time and to rehearse and everything. But all in all, it's been pretty fun, and we're really excited for the final production.
On March 23rd, the county hosted their very first business box lunch. Taking place monthly, the meetings are intended to provide both small and large businesses with information about programs and services available through Oakland County government. And on March 24th, children's book author and illustrator David Small hosted a presentation at the library as part of his week-long visit to Lake Orion, which included stops at each of the local elementary schools.
In April, we showed you the remarkable story of Ian Young, a Lake Orion boy born with cystic fibrosis and polycystic kidneys. Thinking his life was threatened, an organization called the Rainbow Connection granted Ian's wish of a trip to Disney World for himself and his family. But just prior to the trip, Ian underwent a liver transplant. After all family members were found to be incompatible, family friend Mike Fallon turned out to be a match, and Ian received half of his liver. On April 10th, we had the pleasure of covering Magic Johnson's Roundball Classic at the Palace. 20 of the nation's top high school basketball stars were split into two teams representing the East and the West. Playing for the West were Detroit natives Maurice Taylor and Willie Mitchell, who now play side by side at the University of Michigan. We had a chance to talk to both of them, as well as Magic Johnson himself.
It was a great experience. We had fun. Instead of going out and trying to score a lot of points, we was passing the ball and we was just having fun. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Got a chance to play against some of the better guys in the nation. And it wasn't really, matter who won or lose. We just came out here to have fun and enjoy ourselves in front of my hometown crowd. So we had a lot of fun.
I hope that they just have fun and that they also understand that their future is bright, but they have to come here, work hard. But it's really not what these kids get as much as what the charities get. And that's what this game is all about.
That same weekend, Basketball America in Lake Orion hosted the Gus Macker Tournament for the first time. 160 teams competed in the National 3-on-3 Tournament for trophies and recognition. The school board met on April 13th to make a decision on all-day, alternate-day kindergarten. In response to the positive feedback from pilot programs at Blanche Sims and Carpenter, the board voted to make the pilot programs standard at those two schools and to begin pilot programs at the remaining Lake Orion elementary schools. On April 16th, students representing the high school, junior high, middle school, and Blanche Sims Elementary traveled to Mount Pleasant to compete in the Odyssey of the Mind competition. Students representing 305 teams from all over Michigan participated in competitions that challenged them to solve technical, classical, performance, and creative problems. The middle school placed 5th in a contest called the Iliad. The Blanche Sims students placed 8th in a competition that required them to build a balsa wood structure that would support as much weight as possible while protecting a ping pong ball. The high school students had to design a number of vehicles that could navigate an obstacle course. Unfortunately, the team hit a snag.
The main thing that happened is the drive belt, which normally lasts about 3 to 5 years in a VCR, broke in about 2 minutes of OMUs. For next year, I don't know, I'll try to get a belt that's possibly wider or maybe just use gears instead of belts totally. That way there's no problem at all.
On April 22nd, the first LOHS Olympics took place in the high school gym. 6 coaches drafted teams of students to compete in events like volleyball, arm wrestling, tug of war, and a couple of unusual relay races. When the final scores were tallied, the B team, coached by Bob Lomerson, came out on top.
Near the end of my career here. I'm over 60 years old now, and this is really the first time I've got involved in anything like this, and it was something I'll always remember.
On April 23rd, volunteers from throughout Oakland County joined in on Detroit Mayor Dennis Archer's cleanup day. 35 trucks and more than 300 people convoyed down Telegraph to clean up a 7 square mile of Detroit. That same day, the very first meeting of the Orion Historical Society took place with an impressive turnout. Taking place at the library, attendees were invited to look at historical photographs, newspaper clippings, and artifacts, and to help achieve the goals of the organization. During the week of the high school prom, a couple of programs took place to increase the awareness of the issue of drinking and driving. Wednesday, the 27th, was Grim Reaper Day. Every 20 minutes, it was announced that a student was killed in a drinking and driving accident. That student would then report to the office for an application of white makeup and wasn't allowed to speak with classmates the rest of the day. On the 28th, efforts continued with a mock drunk driving trial taking place in the high school gym. Based on an actual case, the trial allowed students to act as the jury, victim, and defendant, but arguing the case and presiding over the trial were a real judge and attorneys.
On May 1st, almost 400 people representing every church in the Orion-Oxford area joined forces to battle worldwide hunger. They did it by taking part in the 12th annual Orion-Oxford Crop Walk. Beginning at Lake Orion's United Methodist Church, runners and walkers covered 10 kilometers to the Emmanuel Congregational United Church of Christ in Oxford. 75% of the money raised went toward CROP's worldwide aid efforts, with the rest benefiting local organizations. May 4th marks the first day of the expanded mounted patrol program on the Paint Creek trails. About 32 volunteer deputies patrolled the trails throughout Orion, Oakland Township, Rochester, and Rochester Hills. Monies from Orion Township allowed the program to expand to 27 weeks. On May 5th, a representative of the Meyer Corporation spoke before the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce about the company's future plans in the township.
Well, it's a growing area. It's growing with the types of customers that we serve. We've got a lot of new housing in the community. This area is an area that is not heavily represented in our other stores, so we feel it's a good fit with existing store networks.
On May 6th, Lake Orion High School Student Council organized a senior prom, but it wasn't exactly geared toward members of the class of '94. Senior citizens from the Orion-Oxford area were invited to take part in this prom, where a DJ provided tunes from days gone by. On Saturday, May 7th, area residents were encouraged to do some major spring cleaning to take advantage of free disposal day at Eagle Valley Recycle and Disposal Facility. The annual event allows residents to bring as many loads of trash to the facility as possible, where they can unload them free of charge. It was standing room only at the Township Hall on Wednesday, May 11th, as residents showed up by the hundreds to voice their opposition to the proposed rezoning of the Camp Franklin property. At the Special Planning Commission meeting, representatives of the Robertson Brothers Company unveiled plans for the property on Long Lake, which included a cluster housing development and a shopping center along M24.
We would not be interested in developing the property under the SR zoning classification. We think that's a confiscation of the property. We think it's downgraded well below what its potential is. We don't anticipate that happening. We anticipate trying to come to some compromise with the community and with the zoning commission. We think we've already done that.
Each month, the Friends of the Orion Township Public Library hold a recycled book sale as one of its fundraising events. At the Library Board's May 12th meeting, representatives of the Friends presented the board with a check for $15,000 raised from May 1993 to May 1994. The book sales accounted for more than half of the amount, which helps defray the cost of materials and programs. In May, we also told you about the newly formed Oakland Players, a community theater group located in Oxford geared toward children. At that time, about 55 cast and crew members were preparing for their first productions, Charlotte's Web, and a touring production called This Is a Test. It was announced in May that Lake Orion resident David Martin was the winner of Oakland University's Alfred G. Wilson Award. David transferred to Oakland from the University of Florida for the 90-91 school year, pursuing a career in engineering. On Saturday, May 21st, the musical talents of more than 650 students and the artwork of another 350 students were on display at Canterbury Village for the first time ever Student Spectacular. Organized by a group called the Lake Orion Foundation, the event allowed visitors to enjoy the musical and artistic talents of students ranging from kindergarten to 12th grade. During Memorial Day weekend, both the county and local organizations honored those who fought and died for our country with ceremonies. On the Saturday before Memorial Day, dignitaries and guests gathered at the county courthouse for the dedication of a veterans memorial. The monument is a 20-foot-tall stainless steel sculpture created by the late Don Snyder, a World War II Marine Corps veteran and Birmingham native. On Memorial Day, an early morning ceremony at East Lawn Cemetery was followed by a ceremony at Children's Park dedicated to those who have lost their lives at sea. Later that day, residents lined the street as a parade passed through the downtown area.
On Sunday, June 5th, the 280 or so students that made up the Lake Orion High School class of 1994 gathered at Meadowbrook for their graduation ceremony.
Live life to its fullest potential, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. Believe me, I speak from experience. If you ask some other members of my class, Sue and Matt, they'll tell you the same thing. It wasn't 20 weeks ago when I was being congratulated by my teammates for scoring a goal, and I felt like I was on top of the world. 30 seconds later, I was lying with my back on the ice crying, not because of the 3-inch cut across the top of my knee, but because I had to accept the fact that my sensational hockey season had just come to a screeching halt. Hockey was my life. and all of a sudden, it felt as though my life had been taken from me. You never know what the future may hold. Because of that, you must wake up every morning and go out into society and try to make a difference. But be sure to enjoy yourself along the way. So I leave you with this, class of '94. Don't ever let life discourage you. We're not lost causes.
On Monday, June 6th, Lake Orion dignitaries joined those across the country in commemorating the 50th anniversary of D-Day. Members of the American Legion Post 233 and VFW 334 shared memories of the day, whether they fought in the battle or were impacted by it. That same Monday, voters in the Lake Orion School District decided which of 5 candidates would fill 2 seats on the school board. Earning the top number of votes was newcomer DRC Gonzalez, followed by incumbent Mildred Williams. On Saturday, June 11th, a group of LOHS students, headed up by teacher Pat McIntyre, traveled to Grand Rapids to put their homemade electric vehicle to the test. 18 schools from across Michigan were represented at the Electathon, a contest challenging students to build an electric vehicle that would complete as many laps as possible in 1 hour. Coopersville High School's entry, 777, took an early lead, reaching speeds of up to 60 miles an hour. But after maintaining a consistent pace, Lake Orion driver David Glancer completed 78 laps, winning the race and coming just short of the world record.
Well, I'm thinking I'm real happy with this guy here. He did exactly what he was told. We had a plan, we had a big conference, we talked about what we were going to do. And the name of the game in our thing again was consistency, and I can't ask for more consistency than Dave. He kept those laps within 1 second time, so did a beautiful job.
Yeah, I did my job.
He did his job.
The Meadowbrook Festival season got underway on Saturday, June 18th, with a performance by award-winning children's entertainer Fred Penner. The concert marked the beginning of a season of entertainment managed for the first time by Arena Associates Incorporated, the owners of the Palace in Pine Knob. At the June 22nd meeting of the Lake Orion School Board, a resolution was approved to place 3 propositions on the ballot for the September 26th school bond election. The first requested funds for a new elementary and high school. The second requested funds for improvements to existing sites, and the third, if approved, would allow a swimming pool to be constructed with the new high school. That meeting was also the last for 4-year veteran Dan Sargent, who chose not to run for re-election. On June 26th, the Milladrag home, also known as the Castle, was opened up to guests as a fundraiser benefiting the organization Lighthouse. Tina and George Milladrag treated guests to a tour, dinner, and music.
Lake Orion residents had plenty of activities to choose from during the 4th of July holiday, beginning with the Lions Club Jubilee. The village closed off the streets of the downtown area for 3 days as families were invited to take advantage of rides, games, food, and entertainment. On Sunday, July 3rd, a Lake Orion tradition that hadn't been seen in at least a decade was revived. About 40 decorated and vintage vehicles gathered at the boat club to begin the 1994 Venetian Boat Parade. The parade began at 11 a.m. and traveled around the perimeter of Lake Orion in about 2 hours. Afterwards, participants went back to the boat club for refreshments and an awards presentation. The sailboat entered by Al Cryer came away with Best Decorated honors.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in the street parade last year, and the turnout for the last few years has been kind of poor. I think we had like 10 participants, and the focal point really of the 4th of July weekend out here is the lake anyway. And so I talked to the boat club members. I said, what do you think about sponsoring it along with the township and bringing it back again? And they were all for it 100%. I mean, we see all the people here on the island and at the boat club, and all the boat club members look like they're enjoying themselves too.
4th of July weekend activities came to a thunderous conclusion on Sunday night with a fireworks display that lit up the night skies over Lake Orion. Volunteers raised the money necessary to put on the show and met at Greens Park about 4 hours before showtime to set everything up. It was estimated that about 300 shells were fired during the 40-minute show, not counting the grand finale. On July 16th, the ducks normally found in the creek that runs along Children's Park had to make way for some pink, blue, and yellow visitors. In an event geared toward raising scholarship funds, the Oxford Orion Optimist Club dumped 1,000 plastic ducks into the water. The first one across the finish line netted its owner $1,000. It was the duck belonging to the team of Dale Dre and Gary McKeskey of Lake Orion that outraced the rest of the pack. The nation's best female golfers came to Indian Wood Golf and Country Club on July 18th as the U.S. Women's Open came to Lake Orion. The event began with 3 days of practice rounds, with the championship beginning on Thursday, July 21st and ending on Sunday, the 24th. Patty Sheehan went into the final round with a one-stroke lead over Tammy Green, but going into the 16th hole, both women were tied. Sheehan birdied the 16th and held on to the one-stroke lead to take the title.
It's a great golf course. It's a very interesting golf course. Not many trees, a lot of high fescue, a lot of rolling hills, sloped, undulating greens. Very difficult golf course to play, and the greens today were harder and faster than the rest of the week. It was a tough day today, and you know, it was obvious in everybody's scores. There were not many low scores today.
The same weekend the Women's Open came to an end, the Orion Arts Center held a two-day festival inviting residents to celebrate their heritage. An actor portraying Abraham Lincoln officially opened the center as a temporary Civil War museum. Visitors were also able to shop at booths set up by crafters, and children took part in a number of events during Children's Day. Also taking place that same weekend was Lollapalooza 94. News 65 reporter Leah Ledbetter traveled to Pine Knob and talked to organizers and members of up-and-coming bands like L7, The Verve, and The Flaming Lips.
Well, at first we were like, you know, because we heard last year the second stage thing was really kind of whatever, you know, it wasn't set up so good and stuff. But then we heard like all the bands that were playing on the main stage, and I was really happy about it because I think it's the best lineup so far out of all of the Lollapaloozas. I don't know. And on the second stage, I heard the other bands that wanted to do it, and I was really happy because I love most of the bands that are playing the second stage.
Plus, this year I think it's the place to be.
Yeah, we have
the second stage is.
I think so. Yeah, you get to see the country. Seen enough. No, it's cool though. I'm glad. The bottom line is I think we're happy to be on Lollapalooza. It's working out pretty good.
Yeah.
23% of Orion's registered voters turned out in the August 2nd primary election to pick candidates for the November 8th election and to decide the fate of two proposed millage increases. Voters approved the proposal that allowed the fire department to replace 3 tanker trucks and purchase new equipment, but turned down the proposal that would have allowed the sheriff's department to hire an additional investigator and 4 more patrol officers for the Orion Township substation. 4 days of activities made up Meadowbrook Hall's Concours d'Elegance, including 3 days of vintage auto racing and a show displaying priceless autos from around the world. The Meadowbrook Historic Races took place at the Waterford Hills Raceway in Clarkston. Aficionados owning classic cars were able to take ceremonial laps around the track before the start of the actual races, which allowed owners of the vintage race cars to show them off doing what they were originally created to do. On the grounds of Meadowbrook Hall, 300 priceless automobiles dating back to the turn of the century were on display during the Concours d'Elegance. Vintage car owners from across the country responded to a personal invitation to exhibit their car with a special focus on the Pierce Aero model.
Well, I hope that they're inspired by the fact that people like to restore history. They like to restore these wonderful, wonderful cars of years past, just like we are restoring Meadowbrook Hall and keeping it restored and keeping it preserved. And that's what they're doing with these old cars. People who love old cars and come here go away really exhilarated.
At the August 10th school board meeting, the newest board member, D.R.C. Gonzalez, was officially sworn in. And beginning his 4th year on the board, Tony Rothschild replaced Karen Lurch as school board president. Friday, August 12th, marked the last day on the job for village clerk Mary Simmons. For 23 years, Simmons had been conducting village elections as well as keeping records and working with members of the community on issues such as rezonings.
You know, I'm really going to miss everything. I like the fast pace. I like the variety of the tasks that we have is wonderful, is challenging, it's stimulating. The people of Lake Orion are wonderful. I'm going to miss everything.
Mary retired to Florida and passed the torch to Arlene Nichols, whose experience comes from working with the city of Owasso for 13 years, including a stint as city assessor.
I think every day will be a challenge. Mary has carried a heavy load for this village, and it will be a challenge every day.
On August 15th, the first steps of construction took place to provide the village with water supplied by the city of Detroit. After a few delays, the project was finally completed on November 8th. On Tuesday, August 16th, the Oakland County Sheriff's Department hosted the Deputies for Kids golf outing at the Paint Creek Golf Course, benefiting the efforts of the Rainbow Connection. 137 golfers paid $125 apiece for 18 holes and a dinner banquet. Over $13,000 was raised, allowing 4 families with terminally ill children to have their wishes granted. On August 18th, the community group known as Building for Better Education invited residents to take part in a bond kickoff party held at the high school. The goal was to provide information to Orion area voters about the September school bond election. On August 21st, the finals of the $1 Million Hole-in-One Shootout took place at Willow Woods Golf and Sports Center in Orion Township. Benefiting Ronald McDonald Children's Charities, 45 men and women advanced to the finals after a week of qualifying rounds. None of the 45 finalists were able to sink a hole-in-one to win the grand prize. However, Detroiter Mark Dusbabic came closest to the hole, 4 feet 7 inches, entitling him to a new Jeep Wrangler. A former Minnesota Viking, Dusbabic had only recently moved to Detroit and qualified for the finals with a hole-in-one in just 8 tries. At the Village Council meeting of August 22nd, the replacement for Council member Morris Cuxey, who resigned 2 weeks earlier, was sworn in. Sole applicant Harry Stephen took his seat at the council table to fill in the remainder of Cuxey's term, which ends in March of '95. Stephen came in with the experience of having served on council twice before and on the Planning Commission as chairman. And on August 27th, 6-year-old Angela Holmquist was standing outside her home watching a man swim when she saw that he was in trouble.
His head kept coming up, down over the water, and well, that's how I knew.
So how'd you know what to do when you saw that?
I kept watching 911.
Inspired by the TV show, Angela contacted her mother, who together called 911. The man was pulled from the lake by passerbys before paramedics arrived and survived the incident.
On September 2nd, the Lake Orion Dragons football team played their first game of the '94 season. Touchdowns came from Mike Heist, Dennis Mahan, Mike Calcaterra, and a short pass from Ian Nelson to Eric McKay. The Dragons soundly defeated Warren Lincoln 26-0. Little did anyone know that the Dragons would go on to win 9 games in a row.
I'm proud of the kids. I'm proud of their enthusiasm. Our motto this year is "Together we will," and they're really playing together. That's something we haven't had for a while, and the senior leadership is outstanding, and I'm just proud of the way they stayed together. There were some big plays. There were some moments when we were unsure after the second half. We were going to stuff them or they were going to come back, and the guys played together and with a lot of heart and a lot of enthusiasm, and that'll win us a lot of football games.
On September 10th, 500 volunteers from throughout Oakland County came together to help their neighbors as they took part in United Way's 2nd annual Day of Caring. Groups spread out throughout the southeastern neighborhoods of Pontiac to help spruce up sites like Unity Park's Community House and the women's shelter Haven. Lake Orion Superintendent Bob Bass was one of the volunteers. Beginning on Friday, September 16th, community groups and students came together as one during an emotional event that took place at the high school athletic field. 39 teams with 12 members per team set up camp on Friday to begin the 2nd annual 24-hour relay. When the event officially began, each team had to have at least one member on the track for the entire 24-hour period. The main purpose of the event was to raise funds for the school's drug prevention efforts and the Orion-Oxford Optimist Club's youth assistance programs. During the 24-hour period, participants also took part in a number of activities when not walking on the track. In the end, the high school's wrestling team wound up walking the most miles, 150, topping 1993's record of 148.
I would be sleeping, dead sleep, just like zonked out, and somebody would come up and wake me up and say, "Leah, you have to go run the track." So awful. But it was fun. The whole night was fun, I mean.
And why did you guys decide to be a part of this?
Because it would be a lot of fun. You can meet lots of new friends. I thought to go to a good cause about telling kids not to do drugs and alcohol.
Because we're drug-free.
All the money that the Optimists end up raising goes back into youth projects. So very obviously with that and with the money that's going into the 3D drug program, the money is divided between the two of us are essentially going back into the program, which is excellent. But it does try to get the community involved. As one, I'm sure everyone knows that a program that has the community involved, a drug program, drug prevention program, is one that's going to be a whole lot more successful. Certainly you can make successes on your own, but when you have the community involved and you try to keep them involved, it will be more successful.
It's very interesting. I went through a phase where I didn't think there was going to be any more energy, and if you looked at all of the people out here, they were all dragging, and now it's as if we have slept. We're all really, really energized and ready to go again next year.
At a special township board meeting on Thursday, September 22nd, Peter Kemp sat at the table as a trustee for the final time. After 7 years on the Township Planning Commission and 2 as a trustee, Kemp was appointed by fellow board members to fill the role of Township Treasurer vacated by Sue Hall, who held the position for 7 years.
From what I gather from the time that she took office to the time that she's left office, she's done an excellent job on behalf of this township. She's put some very good programs together, some very good office procedures together, and I think that this township is actually losing a very good person with Sue retiring.
During the weekend of the 24th, area youth and adults worked together to help those in need during Project Shalom, an effort organized by the Lake Orion United Methodist Church. 110 volunteers forming 10 teams performed community service work such as painting and yard work for area residents unable to do it themselves. That same weekend, the staff at Bald Mountain Recreation Area celebrated Michigan State Park's 75th anniversary by honoring the volunteers that helped make Bald Mountain a park everyone could enjoy. Members of the Friends of Bald Mountain, their families, and the community were invited to enjoy refreshments, displays, and activities at Trout Lake Beach. On Monday, September 26th, 32% of the school district's registered voters showed up at the polls to decide the fate of the 3 school bond proposals put before them. Administration, faculty, and concerned parents gathered at the administration building to watch the results come in.
6, 9, 3, 0, 8, 3, 5, 2, yes, 3, 0.
Proposition 1, requesting funds for a new high school and elementary school, passed by less than 300 votes. The second proposition, requesting funds for renovations to existing buildings and new school buses, also passed. The third proposition, requesting funds for a new swimming pool, failed.
Very pleased, particularly with the large turnout. I think that's really important, and the people have said we want new schools and a good school community.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I can't thank the parents and people in the community who did so much work for this. And really, it puts Lake Orion as a new community as of today. And our kids are going to be ready for the challenges of the 21st century. And this is real exciting. It's been a long, hard fight over the years to get a high school.
I just am thrilled to death. We worked so hard, and it was all worth it. We're just really grateful to all the people that voted and that helped us, and we've had a lot of support, and a lot of people help us with all the things that we've done.
Following the victory, students, faculty, and alumni had even more to cheer about at homecoming, which took place the following Friday. Activities began with the parade that traveled through the downtown area, the theme of which was the cinema, which was reflected in the floats. The winning entry was the sophomore class's Superman float. Later, the Dragons continued their winning streak by defeating West Bloomfield 27-0. Junior sensation Dennis Mahan had 3 touchdowns, including a 56-yard run and a 53-yard punt return.
Because our team just, we get a lot more pumped up from the fans, and it's just great. Because I've never had a lot of fans or anything in these games. It's like the first year, so it's great.
At halftime, Eric McKay and Katie Yamasaki were crowned homecoming's king and queen.
I'm kind of embarrassed. Why? I don't know.
Those are pretty.
Thanks.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you excited? Yes, I am. Real excited. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
The Dragons took the momentum of their homecoming win and their undefeated record to Birmingham Seaholm on October 7th to challenge the Maples for a division title. The Maples got on the scoreboard first with a 54-yard touchdown pass, but the Dragons, Rowan Rowdies, got behind their team and seemed to inspire Dennis Mahan to do what he does best. Mahan's 55-yard run set up the Dragons' first touchdown, and Todd Livingston's recovery of a bobbled Maples punt reception set up another Dragons scoring drive. The Maples continued to fight back, but in the end, the Dragons' defense held strong as the team won the division.
I have never, ever been more proud of 50 guys, or however the hell we got, 41 than I am right now. You guys beat a hell of a football team. Yeah. They have so many weapons. You saw those Seaholm kids. They don't quit. They battled you tooth and nail to the end, but because you guys are a unit, you're a team, you stuck it out when you had to. That was the best win I've ever seen here, period. Yeah!
Man, you guys have grown so much in 1 year. You guys are my sons, man. You just pulled it out. You didn't quit. Man, last year you guys would have folded. They kept coming back, and you kept answering. You shut the damn door. You shut it. And nobody can stop us now.
On October 17th, we had the privilege of attending a lecture presented by Terry Waite at Oakland University. Waite gained fame as a hostage negotiator in the 1980s, and in January of '87 was captured in Beirut and held as a hostage for 5 years. Waite shared his experiences with Oakland University students and with reporters during a press conference prior to the lecture.
My own experience as a hostage was 5 years in all. 4 years were spent in totally solitary confinement without any freedom of movement, always chained to the wall in a small room with no natural light, and often with no books and papers. So I had to learn how to live from within, so to speak, without much external stimulation. In fact, and no communication and no news of the outside world. I think I learned how to understand more deeply the creative side of solitude. I mean, solitude needn't destroy you, it can be creative. And I think one of the problems of our age is there are a lot of lonely people, and one of the questions is, how do you change loneliness into what I would call creative solitude?
On October 25th, the nationally recognized DARE program, which stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, finally came to the Orion area. Deputy Brian Lippard of the Sheriff's Department's Orion Township substation arrived at Stadium Elementary to begin 17 weeks teaching 5th graders about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. Also on the 25th, State Superintendent Robert Schiller included Carpenter Elementary among his tour of the state's most exceptional elementary schools. The superintendent and his entourage spent the day at the school taking part in activities and observing the programs that have merited statewide recognition. On October 26th, Eric Wilson attended his first meeting as a township trustee during a special meeting of the board. Wilson was selected by board members to fill the seat vacated by Peter Kemp. His term expires in '96. On Thursday, October 27th, township officials and county officers gathered to host an informational meeting to stress the importance of the police millage issue. After being defeated in August, it was decided that the proposal would go before voters again in November, and this time launched a massive informational campaign, including this meeting, which was cablecast live on Channel 67.
Despite losing their last 2 regular season games, the Lake Orion Dragons qualified to make the regional state playoffs and went up against the Midland Chemics on Saturday, November 5th. Unfortunately, the Dragons fell behind early, and the team's championship hopes ended with a 31-0 loss, a sad end to a promising and exciting season. Later that evening, the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce recognized the businesses that put an extra effort into beautifying their property at the 13th Annual Beautification Ball. Held at Indianwood, the ceremony recognized Canterbury Village, Christ the Redeemer Parish House, Marina Point, the Marathon Station at M24 on Clarkson Road, and Michigan National Bank on M24 near Kmart. The event also acted as a fundraiser for the Chamber, its only fundraiser of the year. In the November 8th election, voters across the state went to the polls to re-elect John Engler as governor. Proposals A and C were soundly defeated, while proposals B and P were approved. Winning key races were Candace Miller, Frank Kelly, Spencer Abraham, Dale Kildee, Matt Danaskis, and Penny Chrisman. Orion voters also went to the polls to decide the fate of the police millage issue. When the ballots were finally tallied late Tuesday evening, it was revealed that the proposal for a $1 million increase benefiting police protection was approved.
Well, the difference this time was we got everybody involved. The business people were involved. We had a lot of wonderful volunteer citizens that helped get the issue before the people. We had a lot of officers that donated a lot of their time and passed out literature, and it was all helpful, and it all made it successful.
On November 15th, News 65 traveled with a group of Lake Orion teachers and administration to Grand Rapids to tour Rockford High School, a school that has received national recognition for its innovative programs. The school was one of many that the administration looked at, hoping to incorporate the best ideas into the design of the new Lake Orion High School. On November 29th, the holiday season officially got underway when members of the community gathered at First of America Bank in the village for a tree lighting ceremony. The Church Street Singers led carolers as Santa arrived to the delight of the children.
On Saturday, December 3rd, residents again gathered in the downtown area for the annual Lake Orion Christmas Parade. More than 30 entries, including scouting organizations, community groups, and local businesses, made the parade a huge success. Both the tree lighting ceremony and the parade were sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. On December 9th, County Executive L. Brooks Patterson visited Oxford High School as part of his campaign to educate high school students about a new drunk driving law affecting teens. The school was one of 14 that Patterson personally visited to make sure students understood that under the newly enacted Public Act 211, persons under the age of 21 found to be driving under the influence of alcohol would be guilty of a criminal offense.
The personal reason is I have an 18-year-old daughter who's a senior in high school and a 15-year-old son who's a sophomore. They didn't know the law had changed. They were unaware of the consequences if they were to have a beer and drink and drive. So I asked their friends, and they were unaware of it. So I thought, well, if these kids don't know about it, I can assume most of the kids in Oakland County are unaware of it. And so I'm trying to get the word out to them so they can make a prudent judgment during the holidays.
Also on December 9th, the Lake Orion Dragons basketball team played their first home game of the season against Utica. The 94-95 season marks the first for new coach Dave Collins, a former Major League Baseball player. The team beat Utica 83-53 under the leadership of Jamie Mundy and Dan Prevost. Since then, the team has continued to play well and has high expectations for the season. On Monday, December 12th, 9 church and community choirs from throughout the Orion-Oxford area came together at the Oxford Free Methodist Church to perform during the 14th annual Sacred Christmas Concert. In addition to the individual performances of each choir, representatives formed a bell ensemble, and for the grand finale, members of each group formed one mass choir. At the Lake Orion School Board meeting on December 14th, members voted to approve the implementation of a 100% summer tax collection with no opposition from the community. The board also listened to a presentation from a committee that has been studying the concept of year-round schooling. Based on the committee's findings, the board voted to begin a pilot program at Carpenter Elementary beginning with the 96-97 school year. It was also announced that school board member Rod Curtis was resigning. And finally, the Orion Historical Society did their part to foster the holiday spirit by holding a contest recognizing the best decorated home in the Orion area. At an awards ceremony held on December 15th, it was announced that the home belonging to the Rinke family was the winner. And before we go, we'd like to thank Jeff Corey and the staff at the Palace and Pine Knob for allowing us to videotape some performances that took place this past year. Here's some clips of those performances.
I got a hold of both my shoes. Baby put me on the street, just says I'm through with you. She thinks I'm gonna miss someone, tell her that she's wrong. Going back to Oklahoma, boys, 'cause that's where I belong. I need one good ride, you said it's fine. Come on, Oklahoma borderline. If we roll all night, she'll be coming in the sight. Come on, Oklahoma borderline. Now I don't need no Texas girl dogging me around. I may be an Okie son, but I still been to town. These Oklahoma City girls, they always treat you right. Tell mama and them I'm coming home, leaving out tonight. I need one good ride, he said it's fine. Come on, Oklahoma borderline. If we roll all night, she'll be coming in the sight. Come on, Oklahoma borderline.
Wraps up our look at 1994 on our year in review.
If you have any suggestions for stories, call us at 693-3377.
We leave you with a look at some of our bloopers that have taken place during our first year on the air. Enjoy.
Good night.
Good night.
Among other... employment law update. A couple of years ago, an legislature. Bloomfield, Birmingham, parents, or something like that. Families in action. A couple of years ago, an boy, I'm going to kill that guy who didn't give me the teleprompter on time.
Cable channel 67, a government. Don't watch there. Read your story. Government access channel offers something to hopefully. Ronna Romney was Senator Matt Danaska's guest during. That's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
Danaskas's.
Well,
as it opened an exhibit of the Michigan artists on. I better do that again. After applying your final color.
Don't start while we're laughing.
Oh. You then remove the excess.
What is your deal?
You then remove the excess wax with the. I'm sorry.
You got past excess.
Let me think just for 1 second.
I'm terrible today. No making faces either.
I'm not. I don't make fun of you, really. I don't. I don't.
If you would like to, man.
Wait a minute.
probably. My hair line's probably receded since the first take. The next step for the school board is... oh, she's criticizing me.
For 12 years, Detroit native David Small has been writing and illustrating children's books. Since his first effort, Eulalie the Hopping Head.
No, Eulalie and the Hopping.
Okay.
Is that in there?
Yeah, it's in there.
Eulalie the Hopping Head.
Courtesy of the Alpha Lambda chapter of the Alpha Delta Kappa sorority. Man. Joe, didn't you try and make it to that state competition in Owasso, but you got lost on the way?
I did. I drove about halfway out to Owasso and made a left turn when I should have made a right turn, and
back fell off. That's going to be a good improvise. I like it. I'll fix it this time.
Lori? Joe? Lori? Joe? I can too speak good. That wraps up this edition of News 65.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
Smooth. We're a well-oiled machine.
What's the matter?
You're my boss.
Oh, okay.
We had to do it again anyways, because somebody screwed up.
And it wasn't me.
This was.
It was not. My mic wasn't up.
Oh, and you knew that.